Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1, Yggdrasil, written by I Am the Hype TFS. There was a misconception amongst the members of the Galactic Union that humanity found quite shocking when they joined their ranks, though they obviously didn't bring this to their attention. After all, why would you willingly give up such a huge advantage? It was understood that conflicts were carried out by ships in space and by ambassadors and embassies. Honestly, it was almost adorable to humanity that these advanced races, some of which had taken the stars long before they had even set foot on the moon, were so naive. Perhaps they had stood on equal footing with each other and hashed out disputes through battle and open discussion for so long that they let other aspects of warfare fall to the wayside because it was simpler that way. Maybe it was because their prey species were too comfortable with each other, seeing each other as kindred spirits, and the predators found it easier to intimidate and bully their way through the conflicts as their instincts dictated. But as has been proven time and time again, humanity was different, hardened and tested against itself after centuries upon centuries of war and competition. There was no aspect of conflict thought too specialized or situational that they hadn't advanced its methods to the nth degree of their capabilities. More than any race in the Union, humanity understood that knowledge was power, and thus the seed of Yggdrasil was planted. A man raised his arm, hailing a nondescript hovercab that looked like any of the dozens of others which had cruised down the street within the past few minutes. The cab slowed to a stop, and the man entered, the vehicle taking off as soon as the door was closed. The divider between the passenger and driver was raised, making communication between the two impossible. But the man made no attempt, instead reaching for a datapad that sat on the seat next to him. Route 8723 requesting access to Ratatoska. Authentication code being transmitted now. Intelligence Officer Berkeley leaned back in his seat of the mobile intel outpost after sending the encrypted code that proved his identity as one of the roots of Yggdrasil, the designation given to all of the operatives the Terran Alliance had inserted into virtually every government in the Union, and especially those outside of it. Berkeley was a human, but many of the tens of thousands of operatives in the field weren't, either due to the impossibility of placing humans in a hostile government hierarchy, or because they had found an existing member more than willing to feed humanity the secrets of their rotten administrations for nothing more but the satisfaction of eventually seeing it all falter and crumble beneath the weight of its own sins. Standby processing. Identity confirmed complete. Route 8723 acknowledged. Access granted. Connection secured. Please upload droplet. Berkeley chuckled as he did as the AI prompted. He didn't think that he'd ever get over the amusement he felt hearing the data packets uploaded by the operatives referred to as water droplets, but he also couldn't deny that it was an apt description. With each droplet that made its way from the root of Yggdrasil back to Terra, the tree grew stronger and the branches of humanity's influence on the galactic stage spread further to bring its people to even greater heights. Of course, the transmission of the data could never have been handled by humanity alone, since the sheer amount they would need to sift through at any given time was nigh incalculable. And so they had created an AI to carry out the task, Ratatoska. Keeping with the ancient theme of Norse mythology that the head of Yggdrasil had seen fit to base the organization around, Ratatoska varied information up from the roots and orders down to Yggdrasil, emulating the fabled squirrel of Ald. Droplet upload completed. Provide verbal summary and recommendations, recipient and priority designation. These parameters would allow Ratatoska to categorize and order the data packets so that their recipients would be able to address the most pressing and valuable reports as soon as possible, while less urgent matters could be put off until there was time to look them over. We have confirmation of Tuskar government involvement in the Quintari slave trade. Payment trails discovered and disclosed in Droplet 540284.7c have led to a pirate organization whose name roughly translates to Black Knight in Tuscan. We have actionable intel on what is believed to be the main base of operations for the Black Knight on the southern border of the Quintari space, where an auction is set to be held in 2 standard Terran weeks from today. See Droplet for specifics. Berkeley paused his recording for a moment to not only catch his breath before continuing, but to steady his mind. In training for this line of work, burying his true feelings was fundamental, but it didn't eliminate them. He had seen the livestock, as the Tuscans called them, the conditions of absolute squalor these formerly free Quintari citizens now wallowed in, waiting to be passed from one master to another like cattle. If he could afford, he would weep for the loss of innocence he saw in the pictures he included in the upload. The young children who faced a lifetime of servitude and humiliation. But he had no such luxury. No one could know what he knew or how he felt, and the only thing that drove him forwards was the old rage roaring in his chest. The anticipation of the satisfaction it demanded to sate its hunger. Those poor Quintari didn't know it yet, but they weren't alone anymore. Humanity was on the way, and it would demand the blood of those responsible to stake the thirst for vengeance. My recommendation would be to privately contact Quintari ambassador and set up a string operation with a joint military task force to be mustered in the allotted time as to catch all involved parties in the act. I should be able to block any potential information leaks to Tuscan officials until the operation can be carried out, and recommend routes in suspected governments be ordered to do the same. Recipient, Odin, Priority, Alpha. Mercury placed the datapad back on the seat once the soft ping confirmed that the droplet had been successfully carried off to the Ratatoskr, and the cab came to a stop, letting him out several streets over from where it had picked him up. He turned to start making his way home for the evening, when he noticed that the Tuscan around him all seemed to be paralyzed, utterly silent and unmoving, with all their gazes lifted up towards the large holoscreen the city used to display important messages or events. It suddenly struck the human that he had heard the ambassador Svensson had called for an assembly today, and it must have begun when he was giving his report. He wondered what would have possibly made the general population stiffen in fear and mass, but he only needed to glance up at the screen for an answer. Prove me wrong. He only caught the last words of the ambassador's speech, but it didn't matter. The look in his eyes told Berkeley everything he needed to know. He felt a silent howl swell in his chest in response to the ambassador's look at the corners of his mouth lifted. In the sea of petrified faces, the beast smiled up at his kin. In an embassy office, a report slid across an empty desk. End of story. Story number 2. The Predator's Concern, written by Fred Lowe. Beginning playback. Title screen, A Predator's Concern. Title screen fades, showing a human in a suit stepping from behind a tree in a forest. Hello, I'm William Smith. You may remember me from such informational films such as When a Greeting Isn't a Greeting and Paradise Worlds, The Hidden Dangers. I'm a human, known as a Terran, but my kind is also known by another term, Predator. Unlike the other 5 predators within the galaxy, such as the Scythe, who have retractable claws, the Silachi, who with their rows of sharp teeth, we have no obvious weapons. Our weapons are our minds and endurance. Even without obvious weapons, we are still just as feared. As you may know, most species within the galaxy have evolved from prey species that manage to overcome or even completely destroy the predators on their planets to become the dominant species and continue their evolution to the current stages. As such, the prey instinct still remains, often causing a fear response when they come across one of us predators. Do not worry. There are ways to help you navigate this galaxy as a predator amongst the prey. The biggest concern is we predators are known for being direct. We often maintain eye contact as we speak to others, and we often stand out at full height. Oftentimes we can diffuse a tense situation with the prey species just by blinking slowly, looking down and to the side and just lowering your head slightly. It may seem submissive, but most prey species seem to accept that as a simple lack of aggression. But be warned, lowering your head too low may trigger a fear response as they believe you're about to pounce. Physical contact during greetings seems to be universal amongst predator species. From the human handshake to the Scythe headbutt or the Silachi fin tap, predators have developed physical contact as a greeting in one form or another. Most prey species are afraid of physical contact upon first meeting, and some only use physical contact between those with direct relations, nest/burrow mates, and so on. Best option is do not touch unless it's your greeting is offered first. Some individuals have learned greetings of most species and will attempt to use them as they can. if it's a small psychological trick that is often used by the lepers to relax the situation before it gets tense in the first place. I hope this short video allows you to traverse the galaxy with a little more ease. Join me next time for Deathworlds, not as bad as you think. Scene fades to black. End playback. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.